Every morning, the world outside my window looked the same. A calm suburb of Chicago, bathed in muted light, a quiet witness to a life that had grown numb. I woke to the sound of a distant lawnmower and the steady hum of my alarm, a daily reminder of responsibilities and routines. In our modest, well-kept house, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee intermingled with the faint trace of yesterday's memories. I sat at the small kitchen table, mechanically checking off items on my to-do list. My husband, Marcus, was already immersed in the discussion of monthly budgets, his tone calm, yet devoid of passion. His words, practical and unyielding, reverberated against the familiar walls, a constant reminder of the secure but stifling life we had built together. In that moment, as the mundane ritual unfolded, a deep and unsettling emptiness gnawed at me. There was a time when dreams had been vivid, and life had thrummed with possibility. Now those vibrant visions lay dormant, obscured by the relentless tick of routine. I felt as if I were a spectator in my own life, watching the days pass in a haze of predictable actions and unspoken regrets. A quiet yearning stirred within me, a desire to break free from the mechanical cadence that had become my existence. Even as I sipped my coffee, my thoughts wandered beyond the familiar confines of our little home, to a life where passion reigned and every moment shimmered with potential. The contrast between the safety of routine and the allure of the unknown began to define my every waking thought. Unbeknownst to Marcus, as he detailed figures and plans, I was already drafting an internal map to a future filled with genuine moments and uncharted adventures, a future where the color of my dreams might one day burst forth again. At a company retreat by a serene lakeside hotel, I found myself outside my familiar boundaries. The room buzzed with low conversations and clinking glasses, yet an unexpected presence pulled me away from the predictable. Amid the subdued chatter, I noticed Logan, a colleague whose aura radiated an almost rebellious vibrancy. His eyes, full of untamed curiosity, held a promise of adventures far removed from the daily grind. As fate would have it, we ended up seated at the same table during dinner. Unlike the routine discussions that had become the norm in my life, Logan's words flowed freely, animated by his passionate recollections of distant travels and creative exploits. His narratives were not mere stories, but windows into a world of possibility, each tale stirring something dormant within me. I felt a magnetic pull toward his spontaneity, as if his very presence dared me to dream again. Our conversation transcended the formalities of office etiquette. There was an ease in our exchange, a silent understanding that the barriers of routine were beginning to crumble. With every laugh and every shared secret, the chill of monotony melted away, replaced by an invigorating warmth of rediscovered hope. I sensed that this chance encounter was not trivial. It was a turning point that would forever alter my perspective on life. As the evening progressed, the ambiance of the lakeside retreat transformed into a living tapestry of emotions. The distant sound of water, lapping against the shore, mirrored the steady beating of my heart, now full of anticipation. I realized that in Logan's stories and his fearless embrace of life, I was witnessing a reflection of my own suppressed desires, an echo of a life I once knew and yearned to reclaim. That night, as the stars began to dominate the sky, I stepped outside for a moment of solitude. The cool air on my skin and the vast starlit expanse above awakened in me a bold whisper. The time had come to defy the safe confines of routine, to dare to live vividly once more. Back in Chicago, the contrast between my daily routine and the allure of a life reimagined began to tear at me. Every familiar street corner and every mundane conversation with Marcus echoed with a painful reminder of the safe, predictable existence I had built. Yet deep within me, a fire was ignited, a yearning for something raw, unpredictable, and profoundly real. I started seeking moments of rebellion against the everyday. Late-night walks through dimly lit city streets became my solace, each step carrying me away from the weight of obligation and towards whispers of a life once full of color. On a particularly crisp evening, I found refuge in a quiet corner of a quaint book cafe, where soft murmurs and the rustle of turning pages seemed to hold promises of hidden worlds. There, between the warm glow of vintage lamps and the muted hum of conversations, I rediscovered fragments of passion I thought were long lost. Each fleeting encounter with Logan further deepened my internal conflict. Even as I returned to the familiar confines of home, his memory lingered like a vivid dream, reminding me of a reality where every moment was charged with possibility. Our chance meetings, brief and electric, left me oscillating between the guilt of betraying an old life and the irresistible pull of uncharted experiences. I felt as if I were teetering on the edge of a precipice, with one foot in the secure but stifling realm of duty, and the other in the dangerous, intoxicating promise of liberation. The more I searched for that elusive spark in everyday moments, the more I realized that my soul was craving a radical change, a bold step into a life that acknowledged both the pain of the past and the thrill of the unknown. Each heartbeat reminded me that staying meant a slow surrender to a monotonous existence, while embracing the chaos promised the rediscovery of who I truly was. That evening, the city's pulse was slower, as if time itself hesitated in anticipation. At the closing of a modern art exhibition in a chic gallery bar, the world around me melted into a hazy backdrop of whispered conversations and subdued jazz. I found myself drawn to a secluded corner of the room, a space where the clamor of pretentious chatter faded into insignificance. There, amid shadows and soft lighting, Logan and I were momentarily isolated from the expectations of our everyday lives. The charged silence between us spoke louder than any declaration. His eyes, usually alight with mirth and curiosity, now held an intensity that dared me to cross every unspoken boundary. The air was thick with an intoxicating mix of risk and possibility. Without a word, Logan closed the gap between us. His hand, warm and insistent, brushed against mine, a silent invitation to abandon caution. In that breathless pause, as if the art surrounding us had woven a spell, our faces inched closer. The kiss that followed was not merely an act of physical desire. It was a raw, passionate defiance of a life half-lived. Every second stretched out, laden with unspoken truths and fervent hopes, while the world beyond that intimate cocoon blurred into irrelevance. In that stolen moment, I felt the boundaries that had once held me captive dissolve. The kiss was a declaration, a fearless, momentary rebellion against the constraints of duty and familiarity. It was a merging of two souls who dared to glimpse a life more vivid than the routine, a fleeting yet profound touch of liberation that left my heart pounding with both exhilaration and trepidation. The weight of guilt and the growing chasm between Marcus and me reached an unavoidable climax. One ordinary evening, when the silence in our home spoke louder than any words ever could, the facade of our stability shattered. In the heat of a bitter confrontation, filled with raw anguish and reluctant admissions, we finally faced the truth. The life we had built was nothing more than an illusion of safety. Marcus, with sorrowful eyes, confessed that the spark we once shared had long been extinguished. In that charged moment, I realized that clinging to our past meant surrendering to a future devoid of passion. The ensuing days were a blur of painful reflections and difficult decisions. I felt the pull of freedom growing stronger, urging me to let go of the chains of familiarity. The memory of Logan's gentle rebellion echoed in every heartbeat, urging me to reclaim a life that honored my true self. I resolved that it was time to break free from the remnants of a love that had become a mere ghost of what once was. Determined to embrace the unknown, I made the decision to leave Chicago behind. With a heart heavy yet hopeful, I packed my belongings and set my sights on San Francisco, a city renowned for its eclectic spirit and reinvention. There, amid vibrant streets and new faces, I would learn to find joy in solitude, to cherish every fleeting emotion, and above all, to rebuild myself from the fragments of my past. As the plane ascended, I felt a bittersweet liberation, a final farewell to the old world, and a tentative welcome to a future where every moment was mine to rediscover.